This video is my review of the DJI Spark after my third outdoor flight. Let's get started. So last night I decided to take the beginner mode off of my Spark so I could have a little bit longer flight today. So I went through all the settings last night. I changed them all. I took the beginner mode off so I would be ready for an early morning flight this morning, right? The golden hour. And so I'm getting my Spark out this morning, getting it all ready to go. And the first thing that happened is it said that there was a firmware update, which is fine. But the thing is, I just did a firmware update yesterday, okay? So it was a little bit annoying, so I did it anyway. So I do the update, and then afterwards, another little message popped up that said that something wasn't right with the firmware update. It wasn't compatible with maybe the device I use, something like that, and it asked me, are you sure you want to re-download the firmware? Well, I wasn't sure, but I figured it was a good idea, so I did. Okay, that just took a few minutes and it was no problem. But after I did that, I started having a problem reconnecting my controller with the drone, okay? And I'm using the OTG cable, and I thought that that would help, especially where I live in kind of a remote area. So, but what I found out just recently is that this OTG cable isn't fixing the problem that I thought it was going to fix. I thought that was going to fix a problem if I was in an area that had like not very good cell phone service, or maybe no cell phone service at all. But what I just found out from someone else, now correct me if I'm wrong, but what someone told me is that you can't fly the Spark if you don't have cell phone service. So that was a little bit disappointing because I'm planning on taking it in some really remote places where I go hiking in the woods, things like that. But I'm willing to live with it. I already have the Spark, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But this morning it was a big deal connecting my controller to the Spark. It didn't want to for some reason. Now I was inside my house, so I had full internet service, but I only had 1 bar of cell phone service. I think that might have been the problem, and it was very frustrating. I ended up spending about 15 to 20 minutes going back and forth through my internet connection, my Wi-Fi, and just trying to get it ready to fly. And finally, I don't even know what I did to get it to work, but it was able to work. But I went through almost a whole battery before I got to that point. Okay, so that was very frustrating, and I don't know how well this Spark is going to work when I take it into some remote locations. Now, what this person told me is, I asked him, I said, well, what happens if you lose cell phone service while you're in mid-flight? Are you gonna have like a flyaway? And the guy said, no, that won't happen. It happened to him before, and then it just returned home. So that eased my mind a little bit. So I took it out this morning and got ready for my flight. Now, here's a kind of a cool thing. It was 19 degrees this morning, and I kind of want to test it in the cold weather. I know they say not to do it below like 34 degrees, something like that. But I've seen people do it before, so I wanted to see how it worked. Well, I'll tell you what happened though. So I get the Spark up, it flies out about 30 feet, and I just let it sit there and hover, and I wanted to keep an eye on it and make sure just everything was working properly. What I noticed though is the Spark, it was going up and down. It wasn't just staying in one spot like it should, like it normally does. I don't know if that's because of the cold weather or what was going on with it, but it really concerned me that the Spark, it wasn't going forward or backwards or side to side, but it was moving up and down. I would say probably a good 3 feet or so of action up and down. Well, I decided to go ahead with the flight anyway, and so I took off. Okay, I got kind of nervous because I've never flown it this far, so I got to a point where I couldn't hear it anymore and I couldn't see it. It kind of got lost in the background of the trees. And right pretty much at that point, another little icon popped up on my phone, and it said that something about I was in getting close to a restricted airport area, something like that. And so I decided to turn the Spark around, and before I did, I raised my elevation probably a couple hundred feet because I wanted to have a nice shot before I did that. Well, something happened right then that stopped the video from recording, and I'm pretty sure I didn't hit the button. Maybe I did, but that was kind of weird. I kind of freaked out a little bit right when this happened, because I noticed there was a bald eagle like 50 feet above my drone, and he wasn't there before. And I've seen these bald eagles attack like ravens, other bald eagles, and so I was like, I gotta get this thing back, you know. So I started heading back towards my house, and the bald eagle was following. So for the first time ever, I put it in sport mode. I just needed to get back fast as I could, so I put it in sport mode, and I mean, in the blink of an eye, the spark was within sight again. You could hear it. It came back so fast. It was like amazing how fast the controls were when you have it in sport mode. And so once I got it, you know, about 100 feet out or so, I took it out of the sport mode and I slowly brought it back to my house and landed it. Now here's another thing I found out last night when I was redoing my settings. Now when I took it out of beginner mode, it said that, you know, all of these functions are gonna, basically the spark is gonna fly faster than it did before, just because you're out of beginner mode. And so it actually did. I didn't really understand that. So I guess when you're in beginner mode, I think my top speed was like 3.5 miles an hour. So once you take it out of beginner mode, and you're not in the fast mode, the sport mode, so you're just out of beginner, but you're not in sport mode. I'm not sure what the mile per hour was, but it was probably double the speed of when it was in beginner mode, but it was still very manageable. I was able to get it right back to where I took off from and landed it, and it was fine. So that's my review after the third outdoor flight of the Spark, and I still think it's a great drone, and I'll keep you updated on any other hiccups, problems that I have with it, or even great flights. So check out the footage that I got, and like and subscribe to my channel, because I will be posting new videos.